Mic Pops, a learner's and fixer's guide for anyone wanting professional quality voice recordings in their projects and, well, for curious minds everywhere, with Jeff Leeson and George Ledoux. If you're thinking, what are Mic Pops? Or not another video about this? Or maybe somewhere in between, stick around. We've got advice on defining and preventing them, an easy-to-follow audio engineering inspection of them, and great performing footage from George to work with and close it all out. Something informative, something for a few laughs, something for everyone. Your attention peaked? Cool. Begin scene. Part 1. Keeping it clean.
Putting it simply, mic pops, plosives, are the unwanted sounds of breaths hitting a microphone. Hard consonants and heavy sighs are the most common causes. Most of the time, they're very quiet. They're very passive. However, when breaths hit hard enough, the microphone and other electronics could add crackling and snapping distorted sounds to the signal. Pop filters and mic cover screens usually can't prevent pops enough on their own. In the spirit of fixing it at the source, here's 3 smart habit tips.
Preventing mic pops. Tip number 1.
Avoid speaking directly into the mic. Turn your head to one side a little bit.
Preventing mic pops. Tip number 2.
Your position from the mic. Keep back about 1 distance of jazz hands, fingers spread wide apart. 2 hands are even better.
Preventing mic pops. Tip number 3.
Raise the mic to about the height of your forehead. Investing in a mic boom on a stand is a really good idea. Individually or altogether, those are quick and easy fixes to boost the quality of any voice recording. Up next, a quick look at how I'll isolate and examine intentionally recorded pops by the ever-so-gracious and talented voice actor George Ledoux.
Part 2. Pops on display.
This is Reaper, one of the more popular professional audio editing programs on the market. Let me rave about it just a little. With impressive speed and stability, it handles editing and mixing 2-hour films containing hundreds of files like it's working with just 1 file. Available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux systems, no other program is so affordable, stable, and flexible. As you've probably guessed, I'll be using it for a deeper look into pops, getting you up to speed on all of this. On a side note, I used Reaper's video editing functions to edit a lot of this explainer too. Just saying. The main point to keep in mind about pops is that their sounds occur at very low frequencies. Low enough in everyday situations you'd probably feel them rather than hear them. To isolate recorded pops, applying an audio equalizer, an EQ, often does the trick. It can help turn down and effectively eliminate all other higher frequencies. Now, before we get into more of that, I've got some awkward news and I've got some good news. First, the awkward. Because the loudest parts of pops are at very low frequencies, small speakers simply cannot recreate them. That's just how the physics of sound work. Special speakers are needed to feel the full boom results of pops, subwoofers to be specific. They're designed to reproduce only the lowest sounds we can hear. For use at home, you'll find them at consumer electronic shops, larger chains of music instrument stores, and many of the big brand retailers. Basically anywhere multi-channel surround sound systems are sold. But the good news is, I have a simple solution so we can all enjoy those aural detonations, no matter how you're listening to this. Here we go. What we're looking at now is a sound file of noise, kind of like what you'd hear at huge waterfalls. The frequencies in it are basically equal in volume and span a wider range than what humans can hear. A quick play of the raw file. This is Reaper's built-in EQ. It displays, from left to right, the lowest frequencies through to the highest. With it pulled up, replaying that noise file will show us near the top a wobbling animated line representing all sounds in the file. The blue line across the center represents any EQ changes. Where it's flat, there's no changes. I've prepared a high-frequency control setting, over here to the right, that'll help isolate what we want to hear. The drop in the blue line indicates what frequencies are being affected and by how much. If we wanted to boost frequencies, the line would, you guessed it, bend upwards. To hear the lowest sounds, though, it reacts like this when I slide the control setting to decrease to roll off higher and down through middle frequencies. And a little play with the setting while listening to the noise gets us this. I should mention other programs and EQs with similar functions could deliver roughly the same thing. Now, let's listen in to a few of George's personal comments about Mic Pops and toy around with it a little more.
That's when the engineer, first time I ever actually worked with an engineer, he was telling me about, okay, get slightly off axis of the mic. And first I said, what's that mean? Because I didn't know what off axis means.
All right, you got the idea. EQs can help isolate pops. Let's check in on those now. George read out some strange and funny replies for us in 6 different voices to one simple question, and I'll show you a collage of those in a few moments. But to wrap up this engineering bit, let's listen to a clip of that collage with only the isolated mic pops. If you're not using a subwoofer, you might hear only clicking or knocking sounds, by the way. The top file is the video, the bottom file is the audio. We can see in the audio file all the breath hits on George's mic, short quiet ones and tall louder ones. But I'm sure most people are checking this out on small devices. So what's a workaround for those devices not capable of recreating low frequencies? A simple solution: raise the pitch of the pops. There you are, the consistency and quantity of mic pops when speaking too close to a microphone. End scene. Well, not a complete end. Watching a normal playback of George's responses was promised, and it's time for that. Check out his reactions to everything and both our comments afterwards.
Part 3. The question we asked George was, how did your parents influence you the most?
You want to know? Okay. Well, thankfully, they raised me to think outside the box, always asking questions like,
why do we drive on a parkway, but park in a driveway?
would you pass me that grand piano?
Would you want to take lunch to school or the interplanetary space cruiser?
Why are boxing rings square, huh? Does arm hair get split ends?
Shouldn't caps lock keys be capitalized? And there you go, Earthling. That's why I am who I am today.
But enough about me!
What do you think of my shirt?
I sound like I work at C-Lab. Interesting.
So as far as your gear and your recording space, over the span of your career, how much and how often did you change those to adapt to, not just new homes, but, the advances in your career?
My experience was I literally started out doing voiceovers from home anyway, using a battery-powered condenser microphone from Radio Shack.
Yeah.
And I still own it. I still have it. But again, I don't use it anymore. But yes, I use that. From that point on, when I started realizing I could get better jobs, because I was getting hired more often, and if I brought stuff and had it at home, I might be able to save a lot of driving, because at that point, I would have to drive from my home to either Boston, Mass, or Hartford, Connecticut, and we're talking, turnaround time, several hours. And who wants to drive for several hours if you don't have to?
Yeah.
I upgraded at the time to a better microphone. I think it was a AT Audio Techniques 4040, which was several $100s, but to me that was a ton of money.
Yeah.
So because of the sensitivity, I ended up having to make a studio in my home that was purposely built for that. So it wasn't perfect. It was good enough for what I needed. And I may not be the best person to be asking these things, but I've always been, if it works, good enough.
Yeah.
If people are saying your sound is great, good enough. That's all I need. So from there, though, when I moved to the house I'm in now, this house had a semi-finished basement, but we found a corner that I would want to use, and I said, this is where we're going to put the studio, but not so much that it sounds dead.
Yeah.
The thing one of my engineer friends had said, he said, some people insulate and acoustically treat their space so much that it sounds completely dead. Doesn't sound normal either. So I got lucky and just hit the nail on the head eventually. 9 times out of 10, engineers have always shoved the mic in this position where I am. Rarely are they higher for me. In my personal experience at studios, they've always moved them closer to my nose height or eyes than any higher than that. Because they almost always want me to be right on mic. You know, they're like, oh no. So even when you're doing really loud, excessive shouting as a character or whatever, they don't want you back up here. They always want you as close as possible and turning your gain way down. That's how they want to do it. But they don't want you off the mic too much. You know, it's like engineers are funny.
Yeah.
Not funny to me when I'm trying to work, but, you know, every one of them has different nuances that they like to follow, and you can't convince them otherwise. So don't. Just, if you're an actor, just do what the engineer tells you and smile. That's it. That's your best bet. No engineers were harmed in the making of this video. No voice actors were harmed in the making of this video. No reputations were harmed in the making of this video.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, mine was, you try to get it low. Try to get it lower. I dare you.
What really goes on during recording sessions?
Boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom.
Yeah, we like the polka. It's
The polka.
Gotta get back to radio announcer, because that's important. My name is Ray Hamburger.
Is this distracting by pulling my face?
I've never heard that phrase before.
I'm gonna change shirts again because I didn't bring them all down here for nothing.
Do you happen to have one of those shirts in extra medium?
My mouth hurt. My mouth hurt.
I think we're done with that one.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to sound like HAL 2000. That's right, Jeff. We're going to do what's important. Daisy, Daisy.
And I'll be just like, that's great. Can I go home now?
Yep. Are we done yet, Jeff?
Are we done, Jeff? I leave it up to you, Jeff.
Yeah.